Hi, Grace Center friends. It's Kat. I want to welcome you to our first live chat with Kat. And it's going to be a little different this time because normally I would throw out a topic and you would all give your opinions. Well, this time you get to ask the questions and you get to tell us what's on your mind. And Tara is here feeding me your questions as you write them in, and I'll do my best to answer them. So we can get started. Let's chat.
No questions quite yet.
Okay, so let me tell you one of the things that I get asked the most, and that is what brought me to Grace Center. And in reality, it was a long road, but I'm going to give you the short story. I was working for a family in Washington, D.C. who sponsored the NRH, the National Rehab Hospital. They had a son that was quadriplegic. And because he was the official greeter, there were a few times when I got to take him there and examine all the things that they do at the rehab hospital. And it's amazing what they do. In fact, his family is responsible for building the Grace Center. Oh, I wish. The Christoph Ruisch Center, where they do all their experimental work for prosthetics and things. And so that got me really interested when I came to Corvallis, because I said, what do we do for people here who have disabilities? You know, where did they go and how did they get out and do they get out? And someone mentioned Grace Center, so I came up just to tour it and see what it was. And surprisingly, I remember this, you're the first one that said, oh, are you gonna come to work here? And I said, are you asking me to? So as we left, I was talking to Sherry Babb, and I said, well, if you need someone on call or in a pinch, you know, I'd be glad to fill in and support you guys. Well, needless to say, on call lasted about 4 days, and then I was on 5 days a week full time. Because I just love what we do, and I love you people, and to see you come out of your shells and just have fun with us, it means more to me than any job I had in engineering or anything else I did. I worked my way to the top, and when I got to the top, I wasn't so happy with it. So I finally have something that means a lot to me. And you all definitely mean a lot to me. So I'm going to be here as long as I can, and when I can't be a program supporter, I will switch badge and become a participant because I never intend to leave.
All right, we have our first official question. The question is, what is your favorite part of working at Grace Center?
Oh, my favorite part is the individual, it's the individual contact that you have with people where you're able to be their friend and their helper. And you guys are amazing. You know, there's so much life history, and I've learned more from you all than I ever learned in school. It's just, everyone is different, but we're all the same. And it's just great to have that and share it with each other, and we all grow from it. You know, my firm belief is we're only as strong as our weakest link. And we need to really link together, and with everything you've shared and everything I share, then we're all better people. Thank you for that question.
All right, we're still waiting on another question. Oh, here's one. What is the silliest thing you've done to entertain a participant?
Oh, dear God. Silliest thing. Well, I do a lot of silly things. I've told a few jokes. I've shared some of my crazy life experiences, which I said I'd never do until all the people involved were dead and I write my book. But I think just dancing with you guys and singing with you guys, and just being with you guys. You know I'm a goofball, but I really enjoy being with you, and you bring out the crazy in me, that's all I can say.
All right. Waiting on another question.
Okay.
Oh, we got Monique saying hi. She's watching.
Hi, Monique.
Joe saying hi.
Hey, Joe. You know, that reminds me too of something that a lot of people may not know, but you should be able to tell just by being exposed to Grace Center is we've got a fantastic staff here. And we care as much about each other as we do all of our participants. It's a very close relationship. And to have the leadership we have with the experience we have and the board that supports us, I mean, I've never worked for a better place. And I don't think I'll ever find anything equal to it because they just don't exist. I've had a career in aerospace and a career in nuclear engineering and a career in refinery and chemical, and spent 3 years in Saudi. And this is the first opportunity I've had to do something that really feels rewarding. And it's you guys that make us that way because you're so caring, and everybody's broken in some ways, and some you can see and then others you can't see, but we all are broken in some ways. So I think we're a good match for each other.
We got a hello from Rita.
Hi, Rita. Oh, honey, I hope you're doing well. I miss my Rita. She's my sound effects girl. Oh, I hope everybody's well. I really have found that through this virus, we've learned a lot about ourselves and about our country and how unprepared we were because of our dependency on other countries for our PPE and our pharmaceuticals. You know, these are all things that we need to be able to do ourselves. And I don't think we'll ever get in that bind again. I'll just be glad when this is over.
We've also got a hello from Nancy Schlitzky.
Nancy, hi. I hope you had a great birthday. We sure missed you. I hope you're doing well and your family's doing well and trying to stay positive. You know, some days it's hard, but you just have to suck it up and know that every day is a day closer to getting our lives back the way they were when we called it normal. We'll probably have a new normal, but I think that'll make us better.
Mm-hmm. We got another question here. This one's from Ruleen. She wants to know, what is one of your favorite activities that you like to do?
Oh, my favorite activities at Grace Center is, of course, singing. And Rue, you're a big part of that. And dancing with you when Jeff plays our song. Outside of work, I do a lot of helping of others. I can't stop doing that. If somebody needs something and I know about it, it's going to happen. But I'm all about supporting people that are less served. You know, my mother, when she became ill, she had a caregiver, and I would go by after work, and the caregiver would be watching TV, and Mom was still in bed. And, you know, not everybody can afford to have good care. And you think you've got good care, but unless someone checks in, you don't know what you've got. So she was one of the ones that I stepped in and was her caregiver for her last year. Along with my daughter and my brother and Ken, my husband. We kept 24-hour vigil on her, and I made her all the chocolate fudge she wanted.
We got a question in from Monique. She wants to know, what is your favorite season in the year and why?
Oh, I think my favorite season is spring. because it's bringing in the new. Everything is blooming and coming back, and it's all fresh and new. And it kind of renews your enthusiasm for the things you love. It creates something really special, I think. Like, we were so happy when the sun shines. And coming from Malibu, I've gotten a big adjustment coming to Oregon, because I don't remember it ever raining in Malibu. But I love the seasons. I love the changes. Not everything's a palm tree. I thoroughly enjoy that. It's just a time of renewal. It's like most people wait until a New Year's resolution. And every spring I make new resolutions, because it's all new and we're starting again. If you wake up and you have a pulse, have a plan, Enjoy your life. Don't just exist. It's a lot more fun to enjoy it.
I have a question.
Ooh.
We just had Mother's Day, and I see your daughter Roxy signed in.
Oh, no.
So my question for you is, what's your favorite memory as a mother?
Oh, my God. There's so many. I guess my most favorite memory was having her, because it was a difficult delivery for her. And at times they told me they'd lost her heartbeat, and I was terrified. And then they're going to take her cesarean, and I go, oh no. And then she was beautiful. She was just teeny. And oh my gosh, being a mom is probably the most exciting thing I've ever done. And to have the daughter that I do, who is also a great proponent of caring for others. She's always doing for others. She does coaching online, and she does my hair, and I really miss her, Roxy. My truth is showing. But to watch her become a mother, that's another thing that's fascinating, because she has 2 boys and a girl, and everyone is precious. They're respectful. Gosh, how do you have 3 that turn out? I thought once I had one, and it was a good one, that if I had another one, it'd surely be a dud. So I was going to stick with my good one. But when you've got 3, and they're all successful in their own right, that's close to a miracle. I know Clay's right there supporting you too, honey. But you got Grandma.
Oh, we have a hello from Nurse Lee. Nurse Lee signed in.
Hi, Nurse Lee. Oh, my goodness.
She always laughed at us that we called her Nurse Lee. Speaking of Roxy, in addition to telling her that she loves you so much and she's proud of you and all you do, she has a question for you. She wants to hear, what is your most recent resolution?
Well, my most recent resolution is that I want to give my family the same attention that I give my friends and family here at Grace Center. I've always been a workaholic, and I've always put work first. And it took me a while to learn that I have to have balance. And that balance is family. That's the only other love that I really treasure. So I think back in the day when I was in a pressure situation in engineering, I was gone a lot. In law enforcement, I was gone a lot. And I don't want to be gone a lot now. And I'm so glad that we live so close together. Even though I can't touch you, gee whiz. But just knowing you're there and your awesome family. I mean, I love Clay, and Jack's a little rock star, and my little Abby Dabby is such a smarty pants. And my first one, Delaney, and her sweet husband. You just can't get better than that. Kind-hearted people, Delaney and Nate doing their work in the church and singing, and they're just amazing. You guys just lift my heart just thinking about you.
You've also got a note from Rebecca. She says, you're so beautiful and brave.
Oh, Oh, Rebecca, honey, you're going to have to get your glasses fixed. I am brave, I'll accept. Beautiful, maybe 40 years ago, but, but I'm hanging in there, doing the best I can with what I've got. Yeah, there's been some difficult times. You know, I came from a situation where I had 3 brothers and a not so good dad, and so my brothers all got in trouble, and then I went to school and took welding on all the things that the boys should have done. So instead of baking cookies, I was welding in junior high. And I think, in a way, because I had such a bad relationship with my dad, that drove me to do all the things that the boys should have done, just to show him, you know, I can do it. And by having that philosophy, I was the first female in the police department. I was the first female in the spec group at Bechtel Power. And I was the first female in plant design. So when you have a leadership position in a man's world, believe me, you've got to be twice as good and twice as humble, because it just wasn't a popular thing to do in the 70s. So I survived it all, I loved it all, and I excelled at all of it. But you had to get hard, and it's taken me a while to bring those walls down, you know. It's like, you've got this image that you have to maintain because you're dealing with clients and the oil ministers and the NRC, and so you have to keep that brave face on and know what you're talking about. But it was a lot to give up just for climbing a ladder. And that's what I thought we were supposed to do out of school. Not just change jobs all the time, but find a job that will pay you well and continue climbing that ladder. And I did that. And at the top, it wasn't so hot because all my issues then were people problems and not technical problems. And I have a heart for people, so that took a lot out of me, but wouldn't change a thing.
We've got a slew of questions here. So I guess going off of the career theme, we got a question from Joe. He wants to know, do you have any fun stories from your police officer days?
It's a good thing I took a drink of water there. Well, Joe, I had some misevents. I did have some good stories. When they hired me, I was a warrant officer. Excuse me. But what they didn't tell me was the previous warrant officer had been shot and killed on duty. I'm gonna drink to that just a second. I got a tickle. So that was a revelation, but it didn't scare me. But some of the goofy things I've done was when a disposition came back from court. That was a drug case. We would weigh the drugs to make sure it was the same as it was when we took them into evidence. And then they would be disposed of at a big furnace somewhere out in Orange County. And so they have 2 sworn and 1 unsworn. So there's 3 people in there while we're weighing. And I, being a good cook and always interested in flavors and things, I have a tendency to smell everything to see what it is. I unfortunately opened a small bag of what looked like baking soda. And I took a little whiff of it, and everybody started laughing. And I discovered, after being put in the holding cell for over an hour because I had the giggles, that I had just snorted cocaine. God. So it took me several months to live that one down. And another time I stopped at a post office and left my unit running. And when I came back out, the door was locked and the car was running and I couldn't get in it. So I had to call Chief Reaver to bring a spare key because the police car is running in the parking lot. Oh, that was a good one. And there were others, some that I can tell you in person.
Well, how about this one? This came in from Denise. She wants to know what your favorite holiday is.
Oh, it's still Christmas. It's always been Christmas for not just religious reasons, but because that's the one time that we all get together, and it just seems to mean more. I lost my mother around Christmas time, and we just have a tendency to reminisce a lot around Christmas, and things that were so hurtful to talk about in the past, really able to talk about now. We remember the funny things, like when my mother used to sit in her rocking recliner, and she had this book of old folk songs, and I would sit in the other recliner and Roxy'd sit on the couch, and we'd start singing. I remember the one that was that was my demise. It was called "May I Sleep in Your Barn Tonight, Mister." So we're singing, and I'm rocking, and Roxy is singing, and I got to rocking a bit too hard, and I flipped the chair over backwards, so my head was pinned in the corner. But I kept singing, but I was upside down. And it took both Mom and Roxy to tip that chair up and get me back. But music has always been a fun thing for us. Even if it goes wrong, it's still fun.
All right, now we got a question from Debbie, otherwise known as Chef D.
Oh, Chef D.
She wants to know, of all the places you've lived, which was your favorite?
Oh, boy. Well, I have two, but they're for radically different reasons. My favorite place to live was Malibu because we had such a great life in Malibu. And for the obvious reasons, we had a lot of celebrity people around that you'd run into them in the market with no designer anything on. And fortunately, Roxy and our son Jason was able to recognize everybody. And the weather was great, and we were right on the ocean front at Carbon Beach. So as far as homes go, that was my favorite. But as far as my many travels, I have to say Saudi Arabia. And you'll think that's crazy because women can't drive, women can't work, women can't be in the front seat of a car unless that's her husband driving. But in reality, what it was is whenever you had to go somewhere, they provided you a driver. So you sit in the back seat and they'd take you into town, which was 2 hours away, and they would carry your bags. And that was awesome. Coming home, I didn't have anyone to drive me around and carry my bags. But the most exciting part of that was I met a Bedouin family out on the desert. A friend of mine and I were walking along the pipeline so we didn't get lost. And we found a whole tent city out there. And the children were waving come, so we went. And we spent the whole day with that family. There was, oh gosh, there must have been 30 of them. All the children 12 years and younger stay in the women's tent. And then the men's tent is separate. But they cooked for us and treated us like gold. You know, there was one girl that spoke English and she would translate everything. But one of the awkward things was because they have these big trays of rice and they lick their hands and get a scoop of rice. And then they work it in their hands until they get a ball. And then they pop it in their mouth. Well, I wasn't doing that. I was only eating the things like a cucumber, things I recognized. And as was a little bit skinny at that time. And so the mama bee, she licked her hand and got a big ball of rice and squished it in her hand, and she put it on the plate in front of me and said, "Eat." Ugh. So I picked it up, and when nobody was looking, I threw it inside the abaya, the black cloak that we wore. And I laid a trail of rice all the way back to the compound. There was rice falling out of me everywhere. I just couldn't do it. But the thing is, they were so gracious to me. They didn't know us, and they were interested in seeing pictures of our families, and I showed them Roxy's wedding pictures, and they just went crazy over her dress, and they just couldn't ask enough questions. But one of the questions they did ask, which surprised me, was, "Do you pray before you eat?" And I said, "Yes, we do." And she said, "I didn't notice that you prayed." I said, "Do you pray before you eat?" And she says, "Yes, we do." And I said, "Well, I didn't notice you pray either." And she says, "We did it silently so as not to offend you." So at that point, we all joined hands and we asked a blessing on the food. And I mean, for what I had heard about Muslim people, this is not how they are. The people that I met, that's how the most of the people are. And in fact, when we were ready to leave, they rolled up one of their Persian carpets off of their tent floor and gave it to my friend and I. And we carried it home. When our husbands got off work, they go, "What did you do today?" I said, "I had lunch with the Bedouins, and they gave us a gift." So for those who have really negative feelings about the Middle East, please know that the bulk of the people in the Middle East are the most generous people you'll ever meet, and kind and caring. I was never treated better in any other country.
All right, I think we have time for one last question. So Chase chimed in and said, "Hi, Kat," and he wants to know, did you ever see Dick Van Dyke again after that time at the pharmacy?
Well, actually, I did. He was funny and a bit crazy. You know, I thought, this man's not all there, but he was there with a caregiver, and he was picking up a prescription, and I was in line behind him, and he reaches over and he takes this little cassette, and it was like wind and rain and all these little ethereal sounds, and he says, "Do you have that?" And I said, "No, I don't." "Oh, you need to get that. I've got it. It's just perfect. You're going to love it." So I felt guilty. I got to buy it. He put it in my hand. But I only saw him once again at Hughes Market. And he remembered me. He asked me if I'd played the cassette, and I said yes, and of course I hadn't. But he was just a happy guy, you know, and I could see why he had a caregiver, because he was putting out money there like crazy, and she was pulling it back because he wasn't paying attention to what anything cost. But I still say my favorite out there was Tom Hanks and Michael Landon, because Tom Hanks was there on the 4th of July when we were at the market, and he was buying his own stuff, and he had on little rubber flip-flops like you buy at the drugstore, and he's really tall. He's a sweetheart. But the one that I had the most fun with was Michael Landon, because I had just learned how to pick out a good cantaloupe. You want the ones with the real tight net, because the ones with the big loose nets, they're filled with water, and that cuts all the sweetness. So I had spotted one, and he and his son were at that same carousel. And just before I went to reach for it, he picked it up. So I waited a few minutes. I looked around for another one, but the one he was holding was really the best one. So after a minute or two, while he's still looking around, I asked him, "Are you going to buy that, or are you just going to fondle it?" And he handed it straight to me, and I bought it. And I took it home, and I never did eat it. I just wrote his name on it, kind of like Lucille Ball with the grapefruit, you know, Michael Landon. And then over time, it squishes his name up. But there's a lot of wonderful people there. The people at all the shops. You just get to know people. There was a Nobu there, and we were on 4th of July. We were at Nobu. And Nobu was there. He's usually in their New York store. So that was a sushi event to beat all sushi events, to actually see Nobu. And then we had, oh boy, we've had so many things happen out there. Larry Hagman, he's one of my favorites. He was still drinking, I think, at the time, but we were in Ali Sheedy's bar, and he had a great big squirt gun, like a squirt cannon. So when he was sitting at the bar, he squirted it out the door, and just as he did, a bunch of bikers went by. So he says, oh, and he hands me the gun. So I didn't do it. If they come in here and beat me up. And he was laughing. So we went outside after the bikers left, and he gave the gun to the bartender. Well, the bartender filled it with that fizzy water. So when we went outside, he asked Ken, did he want to shoot it? So Ken said, of course. And he shot me 2 or 3 times. And I'm hiding in Larry Hagman's arm, trying not to get blasted. And then he finally gave the gun back to me, and I shot Larry Hagman right in the belly button. But he was funny. Oh my God. I don't know if his drinking is what caused it, or... It didn't matter. A good time was had by all. We were all soaked and we were all sloshed at the same time. Good times in Malibu.
All right. Well, I think we've hit our mark here, so we'll have to do this again.
Yes, I look forward to it. So please feel free to check in with us next time we do this and tell us what's on your mind. We want to know what you're thinking during all these times. And it's been fun talking to you. Thank you, everybody.